All right, so today we are taking a look at the Aero Go-Go Dome tent. This is a 4 to 8 person tent, and it is fully inflatable. Now, the reason I wanted to take a look at this is because I wanted to find out if the hype was real or if it was just a big clickbait thing, because you have probably seen this on some of those mega viral, 10 million view videos where people are camping in these inflatable tents in the rain, they're camping in the snow, they're camping in bad weather. So I wanted to find out if it is just clickbait hype where people are just watching people camp in these inflatable tents and just watching something because it is unique, or are these tents actually a viable option for people who want a large tent and they don't want to deal with all the hassle of setting up tent poles, stuff like that. So they do have two different types. There is the moon tent as well as the dome. Dome is going to be 4 to 8 and the moon is going to be 2 to 4. Now, as with any other ground tent, we're not talking about rooftop tents here. Any ground tent, you are going to need to stake these down. So especially in bad weather, you want to make sure that these are staked down. But I would recommend, no matter what, if you are using a ground tent of any brand, please stake these down, as the wind can take them off into the air. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at some specs. I'm gonna go ahead and set this up, take a look at it, and see if I do think that this is a viable option for people who don't want to do the setup of a ground tent and they don't want to have a rooftop tent on top of their vehicle. I do think that it could be a viable option, but I do want to see if, in the range of what people are spending online in those viral videos, if it is a viable option for the average user. So let's go ahead and start off with it. There are two different options when it comes to the color. So you have the black and the red, and you also have the white. Now, personally, I do think the white looks pretty good. Don't get me wrong. However, I have had white things out in nature and they do just seem to be a magnet for dirt. So I went with the black and red. All right, to start off with, this is PU 5000 waterproof. Now, I will say that most tents at this point are waterproof as long as you're not, spending like $100 on a tent or something like that. So this being waterproof is kind of right on the money. It is made with Oxford. Pretty standard at this point. The tubes are TPU. This is going to be a very durable tent, and at this price point that does make sense. It does have a really good feel to it. It does feel very similar to some rooftop tents I've had, some of the thicker stuff. This isn't an ultra light one by any means, but it's not super heavy. Now my scale here says 24.7. So I'm going to say 25 pounds. Now, a lot of that reduction in weight is probably going to be because of air tubes on here. You're not going to have the tent poles. So it could be possible that some of that weight is minimized, because this feels roughly about the weight of any other tent that I've used. I don't use the light, ultralight backpacking ones, so it's kind of par for the course for me. This is going to be 200 centimeters tall by 300 centimeters wide. It is a dome, so that kind of does make sense. Now in the bag, it's going to be about 73 centimeters by about 38, 37, somewhere in there. And that is going to be the measurements inside of the bag while you're traveling. Open, it's going to be 165 centimeters tall by 320 centimeters long. And then from end to end, we're going to have another 230 centimeters there. This bag itself is going to be 70 centimeters by 30 centimeters. That is going to be your packed size. It's also going to be UPF 50 plus. So definitely going to keep a lot of that bright sunlight, those UV rays, from coming inside of the tent. And it is black as well, so it's going to black out a lot of that. My guess is, before we actually set it up, that this is actually going to block out a lot of light. I did mention before that it does need to have stakes, so that is actually a lot of the weight here. You've got the stakes, and then you do have the actual setup for the awnings. There are going to be 3 awnings coming off of this. A lot of that weight is going to be the stakes in here, and you'll also have some poles. So you have the poles and the stakes, and that will be adding a little bit of weight. All right, so enough yapping. Let's go ahead and take this thing outside, set it up, see what it's like, feel the material, sit inside of it, and feel what it feels like. If I'm going to be using this, I would set up a mattress on the floor they do have their own air mattresses that you can use. I personally am not an air mattress guy. I've just never liked it no matter what. But if you want to get a mattress from them that they use that's in the same technology, especially using the same pump over here, I would say go ahead and get one of their mattresses. I personally would just probably use my Hest mattress, as I've already spent quite a bit of money on that. This has been inflated in my basement for almost a month now. Wanted to test it out. It has lost no air and still holding up strong. So if you're worried about it deflating over the night, I can't see that happening, as like I said, it's been inflated for about a little under a month and has not budged. It's still retaining all of its rigidity. So cool. I wanted to test that out, and it did a really good job. So pretty impressed with that. No loss of air, no leaking, nothing like that. Very, very much doubt you would have any deflation over the night, or even if you had it out there for a couple days. I doubt it, because this has held up really well. All right, so we're gonna set this one up first, and then we're gonna set up the dome. I will time it and see how long it takes. This thing deflates in seconds, and there's one thing you gotta remember to do after you're done deflating it, is to remember which one you used. So I used that one over there. I think I'm gonna use the same one every time, and I'll probably just mark it with a little marker so I remember to make sure that one is actually closed before I start inflating it up. But we'll go ahead and get it connected, and then we'll see how long it takes to actually inflate. Set, go. All right, so we've got 146 on this one, and you can, kind of help it inflate it. It does make it go a little bit faster. By help it inflate, I mean help it like expand, so just pushing it up. But essentially, this is ready to go. We'll go ahead and set up the other one and see how long that one takes. That one's a little bit bigger, so I assume it's gonna take a little bit longer. 3, 2, 1, start. Three, 2, 1, go. Three, 2, 1. All right, so backing up all the way, you can see how much larger the dome is from that one. But we were able to put that one up right there in under 2 minutes, whereas this one took around 9 or so minutes. And over time, I'm sure you get faster with that. But you have 3 separate valves on the larger one, the dome here, and you can just essentially pump up one on this one. Now, I haven't set up either of the awnings, and I haven't staked these in, which is a downside to a ground tent over, let's say, a rooftop tent. But any tent that is out there, you're gonna have to stake those down. That's pretty much non-negotiable, because they can take off. It's probably not likely unless it's heavy wind, but you never know when heavy wind's coming. But this is essentially what you're looking at here. The smaller one there. This one is much larger. Looks like a giant fun house over there. And you've got plenty of room in both of these. All right, so you can easily tell there's a massive difference between these two. This one's so much larger, and this one is so much quicker. Now, I will say, if it's like, it's obviously fall out here, it's getting cool at night, so the larger the tent is, the harder it is to keep it warm, and vice versa, to keep it cool as well. But you've got so much space in here. Sorry for the low light in here. It does block out quite a bit of light. Let's see if we can. There is true to color to what the inside looks like. But you've got plenty of space. But with the height, if it's like winter camping, then you got to heat this entire space. Now, that's not super difficult. Like if you have a diesel heater or if you have a buddy heater, you know, this space is not, you know, super huge. So you could easily heat this up, no problem. But if you're just using your blanket and, you know, heated blanket or something like that, then this would be a little bit difficult to keep warm. Same thing goes for the summer. You know, if it's super hot out, then, you know, you got to cool down this entire space if you're using a camping air conditioner. So really cool in here. You've got 1, 2, and obviously the third door that I'm behind me right now. And you can put up those awnings. I'm not going to do that right now. Super comfortable in here. Really nice. Like, this thing is massive inside. And I'm sure you guys have seen those like winter camping videos that go mega viral. You know, I always thought these things were super uncomfortable and cumbersome, but I actually get it now. I think these are definitely doable. They're kind of like similar to those hub style tents, like, you know, FSR has like those hub style ones. But yeah, let's check out the difference in the inside of the other one here. Now, this one isn't nearly as big inside. Easily, you could put, you know, 1, 2, 3 people in here, no problem. You've got plenty of space in here. So if you're a family of like 3 or a family of 4, you could probably get away with this one and save yourself some time because this one takes a little longer to inflate, but everything seems really solid. I'm sure I put that footage in. I left this one inflated for just around a month and it stayed inflated. So I do trust that these will hold air, no problem. You can kind of see here how this one works. There's a this cover that goes over top of that. And if I pull this out, hard to do with one hand, sorry guys. It doesn't deflate, but I do want to keep that closed anyway. There's this second layer right there. If you unplug that or undo that, this thing will deflate really quickly. This one takes hardly any time to put up. This one takes a little bit more, but you're going to get a little bit more tent for the money. It's going to be a little bit cheaper. It's going to be quicker to set up, which is important to me. Or if you have a huge family or you want like a nice place to sit for a couple days, you want to set up some chairs in here, then this is kind of the way I would go. I really do think this is viable. And you can go ahead and undo some of these to get a little more light in here. So you could very easily set up an entire thing, like have your table and chairs and stuff set up over there in that corner and have your bed over here. I'm pretty impressed with how high quality this is. You know, some of those ones I see online, I was very skeptical of the inflatable tents. So I grew up with ground tents and setting up the stakes was the worst part of it. So being able to inflate this makes it a lot better. This one is probably the route I would go if I'm looking for a fast inflating and deflating tent. And you can see here where the stakes are. You've got these really high quality guidelines. Nothing about this is low quality. Price does reflect that. This is essentially the size of a gazebo out here. This only took 9 minutes to set up in total. All right, let's go ahead and deflate them. It is deflated.